We want to thank all of our panelists for sharing this, and we want to thank everyone who's been here. As it's been shared, we're here to hear stories. We've walked with people for over 20 years. We've had rich exchanges. We have brothers and sisters. We have love between these two cities and these two countries and all of the people involved. And when you hear someone you love cry in pain, you can't help but to respond.
First, in the history of this struggle, we had a city, La Crosse in the United States, organize a town hall. This town hall not organized by Amazonians, not organized by people from Boyo or Lebialem or Ikondotiti, organized by the people of La Crosse.
So part of our gathering this evening is trying to respond in the best ways that we can. And so it is a call to action. We are blessed to live in a country where we can congregate. It is our right to come together and to speak to our government and ask for intervention.
We care deeply, and I'm just so glad to see other people connecting and becoming conscious and saying what can we do and signing the resolution. And Ron Kine flying in from Washington, D.C. because he's on that Human Rights Commission.
That was huge.
That's big.
Yes.
And because of the election, of course, it got kind of, but now we're pushing it back again. So, you know, we pray and we push politically, and that's about where we're at, but we trust.
What happened here today? Seeds were sown, and when they sprout and blossom, it will be the marching band that is taking Amazonia to Boya. Because right now, Amazonia is on the map of the U.S. Congress, as we heard the representative of that kind.
It sounds like you've been here for a while, but first I want to thank Sister Eileen Lee, for the invitation and for the organization, the Friends of Kumbo, Rotary International, all those who have expressed concern and interest in this. But I especially want to thank our dear friends and invited guests from Cameroon, and for your willingness to come here and share your testimonial before us today. There is nothing more powerful than what we just heard here today. It is a call to action. It is a cry for help. And this touches me very personally. One of the most impactful courses that I took as an undergrad was a semester-long course on genocide. And of course, the focus was on the Holocaust. After the Second World War, it was taught by survivors of that genocide. But we also studied the genocide and genocidal practices throughout the globe at the time. What you heard here today are classic gradations of genocide that are being perpetrated even now in the 21st century. And it's a call to action for all humanity, because where there are human rights abuses, where there's suffering and oppression, when there's death and there's mass rape, when there's ethnic cleansing, cultural and heritage attack, it diminishes our entire humanity on this globe. And it is happening right now in Africa, in your homeland, affecting your families, and we must do better. As Sister Eileen pointed out, I had a chance, the privilege really, to serve on the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. We try to keep an eye on this and other instances throughout the globe. And I was able to join forces with a very dear friend and colleague of mine from California, Karen Bass, in drafting this resolution, asking for the U.S. government to be much more proactive in trying to foster a peaceful dialogue and peaceful resolution to the conflict that's currently happening in Cameroon. And also to denounce and to call out and to document the human rights violations, because it's important that this gets documented as well. I also cut my political teeth, some of you may know, with former Senator Bill Proxmire. And he was famous for one of his chief causes. You see, after the Second World War, with the creation of the United Nations, one of the first steps that the United Nations took was to pass a treaty that made genocide international crime. And we were one of the first signatories to the Anti-Genocide Treaty. But unfortunately, throughout the years, there was one excuse after another in the United States Senate that gave them cause not to bring it up for consideration, to delay consideration, and not to ratify the Anti-Genocide Treaty. Senator Proxmire saw what was happening, and he felt it was a major moral blemish on our nation's character. That we were there to be one of the first signatories to genocide, and we were one of the last remaining nations throughout the globe that still had not ratified it. So he took it upon himself for 18 consecutive years. Every day when the United States Senate opened in session, he would go down to the Senate floor and he would deliver a 2-3 minute speech on the need for the United States Senate to ratify the Anti-Genocide Treaty. For 18 consecutive years he did that. As an intern in his office, I got a chance to write many of those speeches and go down to the Senate floor and listen to him deliver it. And I was just shaking my head, aghast at why is this so difficult for us to do. But Senator Proxmire was living proof that one person can make a difference. He wouldn't let go. And every day he would show up and he'd deliver that constant reminder in front of his Senate colleagues' faces, hey, we have unfinished work to do here. We've got to get this anti-genocide treaty passed. And lo and behold, in the final year when he was in office, after we were able to resolve some difficulties with Senator Jesse Helms' office, which was the major barrier to us considering it, they finally allowed it to come up for consideration, and of course it passed unanimously at that point. But he, again, is living proof that one person can make a difference with the right cause at the right time. And that's why I draw inspiration, not only from your guys' testimony on what is happening, but what I see here today in this room, all you and the concern that you're expressing. Cameroon, as you imagine, may seem like a million miles away from the people here in western Wisconsin, but it is a real event that's happening in our lifetimes, and it must be called out. And there's no country in the world in a better position to go in and make a meaningful impact than the United States right now. And with Karen Bass's help, we were able to get on the phone with General Tom Waldhauser. He's in charge of our Strategic Command in Africa. We recognize that Boko Haram is a terrible threat throughout the region. We have partnered with Cameroonian forces, security forces, in order to battle the influence and spread of Boko Haram. But we impressed upon him that we have to walk and chew gum at the same time. Not only deal with Boko Haram, but also to call out and work with President Baya and get their attention. Otherwise, the support that they do receive from us, and primarily from our military, can easily be withdrawn. In response to that, we have a $17 million reduction in military aid to Cameroonian security forces. We also sanctioned numerous people in Cameroon now who have been directly involved with this. We also were able to get in touch with the State Department. We were able to convince the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs to go over there and have a discussion just to raise this issue and to make sure that the government there, which is long-standing, recognizes that there are many of us here in the United States paying close attention to what is happening. And we will not ignore the situation. But much more needs to be done. So we're planning on reintroducing the resolution shortly. We're trying to build more bipartisan support from people like you and the voices that we're hearing. Given my perch on the Trade Subcommittee, I'm trying to finagle a small congressional delegation, CODEL, to Cameroon. I sheepishly admit that I haven't had the chance to visit Africa, let alone Cameroon yet. And I've always believed for some time that our engagement with the world, our foreign policy, has been way too much east-west oriented and not enough north-south. That involves Africa, that involves Central and South America. And there's a lot happening in those regions that we can't afford to ignore or to turn our head away from. Late last year, I was able to finally get down to Argentina in order to spend some time with their government and the reforms and challenges that they're facing. But right now, the real crisis when it comes to humanitarian levels is happening in Sub-Sahara and in Cameroon in particular. And it's important that we do everything we can to try to find some peaceful resolution as soon as we can. So I guess my message to our guests and our visitors here today, that as long as I have a voice in the United States Congress, I'm going to use it. As long as I have a vote in the United States Congress, I'm going to use it. As long as I got a hand, I'm going to write letters to our administration. And as long as I can pick up the phone, I'm going to be pounding our Defense Department, our State Department, and right up to the White House itself in order to get their attention. Because we all need to be leaning in heavily right now and doing what we can to alleviate your pain and your suffering and the suffering of your family and friends back home. So that's my pledge for you today. I just want to thank you again for sharing your stories, and it was deeply, deeply impactful to me, as I'm sure it is with the rest of our guests here tonight. So thank you very much. Sister Eileen, thank you.
Well, just as you relentlessly went for many years to the Senate floor, we will be relentless in our faithfulness to raising our voices and responding to the cry of people who are crying so loudly.
To the family of the nurse who works with my sister, like sister said, my sister works in the cardiac center. She left to go to work, heavily pregnant and trekking because there were no vehicles moving. And she was shot down. She was wearing her scrubs. And she was pregnant. And she was shot down. To the family of my friend and very good president over there, Fed, whose cousin came from the farm, and because he looked dirty, the military came, took him out. He was sitting in the kitchen, roasting maize, roasting corn and eating. They took him in front of his family and shot him. To the family of the little kid below our market there in Verb, the high caliber bullet took off the head of the child. All right. To the families back home who have gone back after the houses have been burnt and only made the burnt remains of their grandmas and grandpas. To the families of the boys who went to Nigeria to buy, because we are very close to Nigeria. And when they got to a village very close to mine, they were riding on bikes and carrying goats. The military took away the goats, shot them, and then threw gasoline on them, and then burned them. To these families, the people of La Crosse are hearing their stories. To the families of people in Cove, in Melouf, in Kikaikom, in Junction, in all over Tatum, to these families whose crops have been burnt, to the ones that they burn the houses and then they go behind the house and they kill the pigs and kill the livestock and then set fire on the things. To all of you out there, the people in La Crosse are hearing your stories and are sending words of thoughts and prayers and extending their blessings to you. To the families that are living in the forest right now, and they've been living in the forest. Today, this is April, it is moving into May, and the rainy season is coming in force. These are torrential rains. To these families that are living in the bushes, not knowing when the soldiers will come. They can't go back home because they've been burned. They cannot get out into the road because everybody is a terrorist. That is the role in Cameroon right now. You are an English-speaking Cameroonian, you are a terrorist. To these families that are living in the trenches, that are living in the bushes, and cannot call because the cell phones have long died and cannot be charged. To these families in the bushes, the people of La Crosse can hear you. They can hear your cries. To those who have already died with their arms folding a dream, the dream of a peaceful life, to just go to the farm, till the land, plant some crops, plant some maize, harvest, send their children to school. To these families who have no other hope, because there is no justice. When your cousin, your son is shot in front of you, and you cannot report, you cannot go to anybody. When your grandma is burnt in the house, you come back from running in the bushes, and the house is burnt down, and you see the child remains of your grandmom. The trauma of it. I'm just sending words to my siblings and to our people in Kumbo and across the southern Cameroons, wherever you are, that the people in La Crosse can hear your cries, and they are not just sending the usual platitudes of something will happen about it. They are taking action to do something about it. So, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. It takes a different kind of person to leave whatever you are doing and come here, not just to hear us talk about it, but to take action to do something about it. The love that our mayor talked about, I can feel it. I was giving people embraces when I came and I said, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, our people back home. Whenever I get to talk to them, because you don't know when you will talk to them next. You don't know. When I get to talk to them, I will say, you've got people here who care. Even your own government doesn't care about you. You've got people here who care about you. So thank you. What we started today, I strongly believe in the God that we believe in, because we as a people strongly believe in God. We believed in God before the colonialists came, before the missionaries came, and we still believe in God. That God that we believe in will see what we started here to fruition. Thank you.
Well, the one thing that I don't hear being talked a lot about is that the French are behind all of this. I don't know if you know that.
The what?
The French are behind all of this.
Oh, indeed. Oh, indeed. And I said in our meetings before, I said, we need to get over there to the French leaders. And we need to push, and I think China too, they're sending a lot of money to help with the military.
I think you've been following things very closely. That is.
So I'm thinking, you know what? Those are two big entities. But at least if we can get this Human Rights Commission, and we got some action going by having the gentleman from the African I don't remember his title, but anyway, making a personal visit. But you know, then of course, what does the French government, you know, the Cameroonian French say? Well, that's fake news. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. But then of course, that's their cover.
Yes, and I believe in the power of the human voice.
Yes.
And this talking we're doing here is affecting people.
Well, it does.
And I think that, like one of the speakers said, when America speaks, they all fall in line.
Well, it used to be. We hope it still has some clout with our own particular government, but it does. It does.
No, it does. It does because of the.
Yeah.
See, I do a YouTube channel, and I do speak out very much about what America contributed in ending colonization. FDR was in fact, FDR stopped colonization.
And such a strong statement, yeah.
Yes, and so America is very instrumental in what the world has become. And it started in 1945 when America went back to become part of the world.
Yes.
And it's all been good. And we, even with the French being there, want to let America know that America is at its best when it acts on behalf of humanity and not.
Indeed. And that's where a lot of us are frustrated to say, let's come back to that, because we have some leadership right now that most of us are quite angry about.
Yeah, but we'll keep working.
And you know, I think, sure, China can put money because they're always trying to, but we have something to offer. Certainly sanctions are good, but like you say, maybe just even the whole moral clout that we can hopefully put against the French government. And you know, I heard the British speaking in one of their government discussions, and they were saying, we have to own our role in this colonial history. This was quite powerful a few months ago. It was on YouTube. And I thought, well, we should push with them. They need to own their role in that whole colonial piece. So, and they were owning that.
Well, I hope so.
In their assembly as they were talking. So that's another
Was that the one in the House of Lords? The House of Lords one?
Yes.
No, that was very vocal. But the government...
Oh, they're so big stuff.
Yeah,
now.
so that is where the pressure needs to go. The House of Lords has recognized it, and they're talking. So
and they were owning that.
Yes.
You know, publicly.
Yes, that is great.
Like taking their shadow aside and saying, "Look, we have that responsibility."
Yes. And what's your name again?
Diane Withers. I'm a secretary of the Lacrosse Friends of Cameroon.
Okay. Oh my
And I
goodness.
was instrumental in starting the Sister City program, so my heart's been with them. And I get emails from the sisters a lot as they are able to use the computer, but it seems to be opening up more now.
And I think you did the right thing. And because things will change, they will not remain the same.
No.
And when they change, they will change for the better. I like the talk about rebuilding and things like that.
I thought our mayor, I love that.
He's great.
Now, he got to meet Mayor Donatus, We had a nice few days here together, and they visited.
So there's some
a lot of
personal
things.
contacts there.
Personal contact there. But I thought that, I got goosebumps, that took us to another step, saying, when that happens,
We'll be there.
isn't that something?
That's great. That's
I
wonderful.
hadn't heard that from anybody yet, so.
No, look, the heart of America is really big, and it's always in the right place.
Yes, I think that's so true.
Even if it's not there momentarily in
Even
terms of,
if
but you always
yeah.
look at things in aggregate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And aggregately,
Aggregate.
it will
So
happen.
Right.
It will happen.
Right. It's in there.
No, it's in there.
Now,
it's
where
in
are
there.
you from? Where are you? Where did you just come from now?
From the Twin Cities. We came from the Twin
you came down
Cities.
from the Twin Cities.
Yes. Upon the great presentation and the great responses, you picked that microphone and the cultural part just crowned everything. What is it about this culture that you preach so loudly? And I could see, and I'm asking this question, I haven't seen the meaning of it, a little bit of it tonight, but I want you to talk about it because it's something that you get the value of it more than anybody else.
We say our culture is our identity. Without our culture, who are we? You remember that this crisis started because our culture was being destroyed. Who we are as a people. First as an Anglo-Saxon tradition. As a people who value liberty, truth, pursuit of justice, pursuit of happiness, the freedoms that exist, the freedoms that are taken for granted. We as Anglo-Saxon, we as British Cameroonians, former British Cameroonians, we as Amazonians value this above all else. And that is our culture. And our culture is our identity. And as a people, we cannot let that die. Not even the terrorists of the earth, not even the brunt of his military forces can take that away from us. And that is that expression that I was trying to bring to life. That when we are down, we have to rise up in song and dance. As a people, always in song and dance. But when we dance, our ancestors are rising up in the ground and connecting with the spiritual powers that come from heaven above, and then mixing with our breath, the breath that we breathe, and the song that we sing, and our voices, and all of this unite to form one powerful force that no one can stop. That is what it's about.
I really appreciate you, and I think that as much as I enjoyed the conversation and everything, I was absolutely proud of that dance and the attention I got from this little gathering, here.
And thank you, Mr. Ambe. I really appreciate because there is the power of the media. The power of the media is such that there are no words, because it is the media that brings, our messages out. Without the media, then you can cry in your house. Who's gonna know? We can talk about it, but who's gonna hear?
Nobody.
So thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think it'll be very effective. We are 100% behind the process.
I like your shirt. Where's that from?
It's right from Kumbo.
Oh, you were in Kumbo?
I was in Kumbo and they gave it to me, yes.
How long were you in Kumbo?
We were there a month.
Oh, you went as part of the Sister City visit?
Yes.
What did you think about Kumbo?
I loved it over there. And I love the people.
It's sad what is happening there now.
It's crazy. It's nuts. I don't know what the hell. It's hard to believe it. That's all I can say. It's hard to believe that this is happening.
Well, I like the